All right. Thanks for joining me. I'm here with Eric, and we're going to talk a little bit about career. First, if you would just tell us a little bit about yourself. What is your, what are do you do now as far as career? How did you get to where you are? What was that path like?
It's a long path. It can probably be summed up in I have a bachelor's of science in electrical engineering, and that was at GM. Used to be called GMI Institute in Flint, Michigan. Now it's called Kettering. I was in the automotive industry, largely as a C++ programmer, at least the last few years. Test equipment engineer was the official title, and you know, breaking my parents' hearts, I went and got an MFA in acting with uh, a movement specialization. That was kind of where my heart was. I hadn't done acting before. I guess it was sophomore year at GMI. I was in a full engineering, one of the toughest programs in the country, certainly. And I decided to add to that. I really wanted to do theater. Had never done it. Was scared to death of it. Um, Went out for the school play as an engineer, and of the 8 people that were there, was the only person not cast. They handed me a script, and I go, "What do I do with this?" So it's an audition. You read it. That's how little I knew, and somehow that's what I wanted to learn. I guess the thing I was most scared of. So I went to a community college about an hour away. So 8 to 5 was all engineering. Then I jumped in a car, got a couple of roles and plays, and essentially didn't sleep for a few years, as I did 2 colleges at once. Finished the engineering degree and the thesis period for that as well, and then went back to school and auditioned. I knocked on doors in a hotel room in Chicago for theater programs. Eventually got a full ride to Kent State. They took a chance on a guy who, by this time, I'd also gone to University of Detroit for a year, and took all of their senior and junior level acting classes. Used that as the springboard to get the scholarship at Kent State. And boy, from there, so I worked in the Ohio area. I got my union cards there. SAG and AFTRA were separate at the time. Moved then to Chicago for a year with one of my best friends. Hacked it out there, and then just said, "This is it. Let's go to New York City." And that was 21 years of lots of stuff. um, but had gotten married, had a child, had a divorce, um, remarried. In the middle of that, I found I'd never played ice hockey before, and now that became I became a referee, certified referee, and did that in Central Park. I wrote. Um, I got into photography. Started some event photography, headshots. I taught for a while in the Bronx. Um, that was pretty amazing. That was a at-risk or a underprivileged school, under-resourced school, and I came in twice a week as a nutrition and really essentially became a gym teacher, as well as sort of physical fitness and nutrition. Um, yeah, so I've done a bunch of stuff. I'm doing patent engineering now. Uh, Fell back on that. The arts, aren't consistent in payment. So yeah, it's been kind of a hodgepodge of stuff. I like certainly the gig work better. I like that stage and film things have finite time, and then you move on to something else. But I don't mind, and I like doing some of the engineering stuff as well. And it feels like arts and writing take all that learning, and I'm able to put it into something. And now working at the college, started a film study class, film appreciation class, should say, and that I'm loving it.
You are a
How's that?
talented
Real
person.
concise.
Wow. Yes. I like it
I
too
didn't say I was any
because
good at any of those things. I just said I did them.
no, that's great. I like also that you have really combined two fields. I feel like some people I think like stereotypically don't think of as going together. Like you're either like a mathy, technology, science person or an artsy type of person. And you've,
Well, that wasn't the way it used to be in education. You know, 3, 400, 200, 100 years ago, you did arts and you did science.
Mhm.
You know, um, Leonardo did both. He was
Right.
accomplished in both science and whatever. And it's really, to me, that's, I think, to the detriment that they're so segmented. And unfortunately, that's kind of way most things go. You got to stay in it for so many years. You build up a career, you build up salary, you build up, better positions and all that. Uh, but way back when, the beginnings of education, we know it, all that stuff was taught together, and you were expected to do all those things. Um, I think that my engineering degree definitely serves the acting, the writing. There's an
Mhm.
architecture to it. There's a logic to it. The art, I think, also served when I was, more full time an engineer. I think there's a creativity that is often stifled in certainly in industry at this
Totally.
point. I worked for MTV for 3.5 years. I worked for Four Kids Entertainment for like 9 years. This was doing mostly engineering. Worked for AMC Networks. On the engineering side, mostly programming and websites and things. And um, I think the I think the creativity saved me sometimes in how do you solve something. Uh, Nothing like a play to put pressure on and perform. Um, you know, I did a I was an understudy for 3 roles, and the day I had to be off script, I was in front of 100 people, because the lead was out, and that was my first and only rehearsal. Um,
Wow.
uh, so yeah, I just think both lend to each other, and I think a well-rounded education does that.
You're right. That is a really good point, and it's so nice to hear how they complement each other. And I think our students can really benefit from hearing that as well. So talk to me a little bit about what your day-to-day work life is like today. Like, what's a typical day if there is one for you?
Nothing's been typical since COVID. We moved across the country. I was an activities director at a citizen or a senior assisted living, I should say, in the Bay Area for a little bit when we moved out here. We moved out of here. We had 600 square feet for 5 kids in New York City, and parks were chained closed and that. So we moved out this way near my wife's family. Um, Day to day now is this class, film appreciation. It's a first time in teaching it, so there's a lift to get the first syllabus in the first year, architected out. Um, but I do some photography and stuff for the Lakers. I do the announcing for the Lakers. That's the juniors hockey team. We just did. My wife and I were starting to get in the arts community here, so we're part of the Dancing with the Tahoe Stars this past weekend, and that was an amazing thing. Our goal is to get a theater and a film festival here. So I'm doing a lot of legwork right now and a lot of talking, and we're putting business plans together. So day to day, it's a lot of writing and marketing that. I have a screenplay that I finished. I have a novel that I'm working on. Um, in between, whatever comes up, I do a little patent work. That's kind of, I'm kind of, it's a good gig. So I kind of have to drop everything to do it. I'm a little bit that they're, at their disposal for the rates that they do. Um, for me, that's my day right now. It's I don't know. Today I just gotta get something else done. If something comes, I do it. I did a film down in LA a couple of months ago. That was, one of my best friend's connections from New York. I just happened to uh, have to wait for 5 or 6 other stars to turn it down. I said other stars to turn it down. They wanted it to go to a named person for the rate they were paying. Nobody took it. So he's like, "Hey, you want it?" And I'm like, "Okay." So yeah, I mean that's kind of that business too. Um, you want to collect and work with good people, uh, and this was a role he knew I could do. I've worked with him several times. He's a good friend. He became a good friend after working with him originally. Um, so that's like I'm doing the lessons now on the actor for the film appreciation class, and I'm like, my job as an actor is auditioning. The performance is a plus, is a boon. So that's kind of gig work. So much of it is just hustling, and then when work comes, get it done, do a good job, be nice. Um, so they hire you back, and you have to do less leg work because they already know you.
Awesome. So it sounds like you have to be really organized, but other than that, what are some personal qualities or traits do you feel like help you in your areas of work?
It's amazing. Sense of humor goes a long way. Um, Not taking yourself seriously. I mean, take the work seriously. Maybe don't take yourself in the work seriously. I don't know how to quite put that, but there's a balance of getting stuff done, and people want to work. I would say even the engineering jobs I got in New York, the programming and stuff like that, I was not the best qualified person there. They're better programmers. They're, better. I had the ability to learn. I showed them that. I had done some things. I could show them that. Um, but in the interview process, I think, one of my managers said, well, you got all these PHP questions wrong, but I really liked you. I want to work with you. That led to a, MTV job on their websites. Uh, it's amazing how much that, I guess if I could tell myself something 25 years ago, it's that. I would say even when I was all engineering and on it, and I mean, if you didn't look up and say hi to the people around you, go grab a coffee or a beer after work. Those things matter because then you're more of a person than a product or a tool to
Yeah.
someone, and I think that sense of humor breaks across that.
Yes, for sure. So what's your favorite part of your work, or what are you excited about right now?
You know what? Lots of things, maybe too many things. If focus is, if you ask me what my downsides were, is focus is a little tough for me. I like doing lots of things, so staying focused on that. The To ask me the question again. Sorry. See, focus gone. Six thoughts at once, and I'm thinking what I'm supposed to have had done already today. Don't joke,
And
please.
sorry, what is your favorite part
Health
about your
department here,
work?
the nurse. What's that? I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm talking to you.
What's your favorite part of your work, or what are you excited about right now?
I love writing. At this point, engineering and stuff like that is I got three kids and a home here. We got to pay bills. The most exciting part is when I write, when I create. I actually like in doing these. Teaching is sort of is a mini performance in a way. My notes are my script, so to speak, but I've got zones of improv. I like putting that stuff together. I like sort of being the guy that grabs all this stuff and puts it together in a way that causes a reaction, impacts people, help in this case with the students, that hopefully facilitates their interest, um, and their learning. Uh, but I love the writing, and I love that. I love to get to talk to people in the community. I'm brand new, and this Tahoe has been um, just wow. You know, People want a theater. They want to, you know, they want like a film festival. They want like there's a real interest in it, and there's people that I think are really, you know, uh, going to help get this thing off the ground. I like all that. So I guess assembly. I like the assembly, be it words, be it people, be it locations, be it problem solving, getting the tools to get the job done. I like all of that part of it.
Awesome. Thank you. And so on the other side of that, what are the most challenging things about your work, or what has surprised you the most?
So many things. My focus is one thing. There's only so many hours in the day. Um, my wife and kids deserve a healthy chunk of those. You know, I'm as I get older, I used to be able to get away with 3 hours of sleep, or four, and I can't. Uh, we just did this dance thing, and uh, I had to be careful with how I threw the body into it. It wasn't like when I was 20 and dancing and okay, just do this. There's I my tendons split. I got to make sure I don't land wrong.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. Um, More Advil after the dance than I've ever had in my life. Um, I guess what's surprising is, we came from New York City not too long ago, and to pull anything off, be it you want to open a bodega or you want to shoot a film, you want to start a theater company, like nobody wants to help you. Um, but here in Tahoe, there's just such a I'm still not used to it. People go down that I don't even know them. Neighbors, every time I see them, they drive by and they wave, and I'm like, check my wallet. That's New Yorkers don't go waving to strangers. Like they're hiding something if they do. Um, so that's been the most surprising is just uh, we have just a welcoming base here, and I'm shocked at I didn't know anything about LTCC really before 3 months ago when my son started going there. It's a little gem,
Mhm.
it's a little gem of a school in this really incredible, city and location. Um, so that's pleasantly shocked me at the available resources and the willingness in the just the community
Yeah.
that's around, but both a school and uh, the city.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really a great community. So if you could go back and do everything over again, would you take the same career path as you took, or the same, I don't know. Would you have started
Heck
out the same way? I don't know.
heck no. There's those people like, oh, I would have done it exactly this. Nope.
Most people
No.
say that.
I'm like, nope, nope. I I made a lot of mistakes. There's plenty of things now. Had I in someone listened to myself in different ways, or trusted myself, or had more confidence when I was younger, um, also had I listened to certain people who I should have listened to more. I mean, I think there's any number of ways. I mean, I probably, if I had to do it over again, and money hadn't been an issue at the time, I probably would have gone all art school,
Yeah.
and done a minor or something in math. And I liked math. I loved math. I loved calc and differential equations, and theory of relativity was my favorite classes ever. It gets up there with anything else. But the good thing was the program I was in was an engineering internship. So you had to go to school for every 3 months. You went to school, then you went back to work. That you had to have a sponsor company. That practical experience, one, if I wanted to be an engineer, was invaluable. But it was also that I got to see. I loved learning it. I didn't love the day to day job. And a lot of college, you don't get a chance to see what you're actually doing. Had I known I was doing armature, abrasion tests for 3 months at a time, and this is what engineering is. Uh, Glue the accelerometer onto the side of the thing and try not to get your fingers stuck in the super glue. For 3 month time. And but it was great is the program went every 3 months. So I only had to make it through 3 months, go back to school, and then I was in a different department. But I got to see a side of that, and in some ways, it helped me see that I don't want to do that for a living, even as much as I was interested and loved doing it. Um, but the reality is that some careers just are more stable and pay better.
Totally.
You got to make it work in a different way. I don't know. my wife and I, she's also an actor. She's got a full-time job.
Yeah.
Um, Without having her benefits, I couldn't do this. Our kids, wouldn't have medical. So, I mean, it's been a balancing act any way you go.
So if you were to give advice to somebody who wanted to follow a similar path or be in one of your different areas, what advice would you give?
Don't do it the way I did it. I guess I don't know. Whatever I did, do the opposite. Um, you know, my favorite teacher in high school said it was an electronics class, and I would say he was the reason I got into engineering, and he was also the reason I left it, went to acting. He said every day he'd come in. It was all guys. Boys, do what you love. The money will come. Um, Sometimes easier than others, but at the end of the day, I guess I just didn't. I want a life that the stuff I did meant something to people or me. Uh, I saw a lot of engineers. One of the other things that pushed me out of it, they hated their job. You know, I didn't want to do that for 20, 30 years. Hate getting up I mean, there are people that had to like psych themselves up to get to work every day. Um, I saw that pretty young, and that's just not me. Um, so 6 years in automotive industry was enough. I'm like, I gotta, if I don't move now, it's never gonna be a good time to make a change. But you tend to know when it's wrong.
Yeah, that's really good advice. And so final question for you. You did mention this
This is
earlier.
double Jeopardy. I get extra points if I get it right.
Yes, it's the hardest question. No. What advice would you give your 18-year-old self starting off on whatever path it is now?
Make the hard calls. Make the hard decisions. Um, the things I regret are the things I didn't do that I felt I had to do but was too scared to do.
Mhm.
Um, or there's ways of self-sabotaging, doing something without, really putting yourself all out there. Put yourself all out there. Um, you know, Ellen DeGeneres line. If someone calls you weird, tell them thank you. Like that seemed to be something that was so, oh, I'm outside of the norm or I'm weird, and I think that hindered in a lot of ways. I think there's a way to. I tell my That's my advice to my kids. I call them weird to test them, and they say thank you, Dad. Um, what others think, uh, it may have relevance, but you choose the impact. You choose how to filter it. And you're going to make mistakes at 18. I hope you do. If you get 1 out of 10 things right, you're doing great, because, the decisions you make at 18 are different than you make it. This is my wife going to get children. Um, the, the decisions you make and who you are is different at 18 than it is at 28, than it is at 38, than it is at 48 and above.
Yes.
Um, and that's okay. You can change your mind. You can change your path. You can change your career. Have the faith that you know best for you.
Mhm, mhm. Yeah, great. Thank you so much for joining me and
Thank you.
chatting.
Thank you.
And I hope we'll get some more students to take your classes, and um, maybe they'll reach out to you if they have questions about your path.
I'm welcome. Yeah, if they have any one of those things they're interested in, I know a bit about. They're welcome to ask.
Awesome. Thank you again.
Thank you, Nicole. Have a good day.